like, this ain't like me. I always feel like I need to be here.
1 minute.
1 minute. How do we dance to this? Like this? We don't do this, do we? There, that's perfect.
28 seconds.
Okay. You're so cool.
And we're on. Gala, Chashma there. Clearly we don't need our sunglasses today, be they dark or not. Good morning. You're listening to Awaz FM on the mid-morning show. We're here with you right through to 12. And if you've just tuned in, I've got Layla Khan, who's one of many things: author, mentor, life coach, and the list goes on. Good morning, Layla.
Good morning.
So before the break, we were talking about self-love, and I was
Yes.
just thinking, we were talking about external influences and how we have to look within yourself. Tell us more.
Tell you more. Oh my gosh. So so the self-love journey is one which, because you were asking about my journey before the break, and I had actually got to the point where, so my background's in teaching, and I was teaching in London, and I remember one of my colleagues, he observed one of my lessons and he judged a lesson as being outstanding. And I was so negative on myself. I was like really hard on myself. I was like, no, but I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I didn't do this. Exactly. And he looked at me and said, why do you not just see what you've just done? Like, why are you being so critical? And that was actually a really big turning point for me, because I just had to sit back and just say, okay, if I want to be an amazing, outstanding teacher and really impact lives, then I really need to get better at assessing how I'm doing so that I can teach others. And so that self-love journey was about transforming self-criticism and judgment, and instead of nitpicking at what I wasn't doing well, looking at what I was doing well.
You were talking about the kind of almost like self-hate, if you think about it.
Yes.
Is that we all go through moments of that? So how do we know when it's serious, like you say? Is it continued? What is it?
You can tell from your feelings, right? So you can tell when you don't feel good, right? And you can tell when you do feel really good.
Sure.
And so like I was very, very depressed for a long time, up until about 5 years ago, ever since I was a child. So whenever I fell into like a deeper depression, and whenever I was like snapping and angry at people, especially my family and close ones, I'd have to just kind of sit back and reflect and ask myself, well, why
As a
am
child,
I
that's pretty deep,
yeah. And I was like, well, why am I feeling that way? Why am I so depressed? Why am I not happy? Why am I do you know what I mean? And so it's that self-reflection time, you know, when you're sitting and you're on a bus and you might have a long journey and you might be out with friends and you might not be feeling the vibe. You can tell on because of how you feel.
So what does self-love look like then?
So self-love actually feels
I like
very
that
it
feels
but it feels very, for me personally, it feels very comforting. It feels unconditional, right? So self-love, like I have this unconditional love for myself, regardless of when I make mistakes, which we all do, right?
Sure.
We all make mistakes all day long. And, you know, failures and so on. Instead of beating myself up, I'm really kind to myself generally.
Sure. So
Sorry
you're
about
talking about positive thinking.
Yeah, and so it's positive thinking and so on. And so it feels really good, and it looks like someone who's really happy. Do you know what I mean? Because when someone feels good. They exude that
Can I
naturally.
just stop you there?
Go
Because you said
for it.
it looks like someone that's happy.
Yes.
So does that mean you've got to fake it to make it?
You definitely don't want to fake it till you make
Because I'm just
it.
thinking, if you say looks like, you're obviously not going to have that
Yeah.
100% of the time. So you do try.
Yeah, you try. So I don't buy into this whole idea of fake it till you make it, because being authentic is much more powerful. So being authentic is about saying, do you know what, I actually don't feel like, say for example, if someone's got a job interview or they're meeting some new people for whatever it might be, a networking event, and it's like they're really just like really nervous and stuff, instead of like pushing that away and just faking it and being like, oh, I'm just gonna be like really happy, acknowledge for yourself how you feel, be kind to yourself. And so that's self-talk, and then just show up like knowing you're gonna be okay. Like you can talk to people, you're gonna try your best, you're gonna take it moment by moment, rather than faking it till you make it. Because I used to do that, right? When I was younger, I did that for a good while, until like I'd probably say my 20s. And here's what would happen. I'd fake it till I made it in front of all of my friends for job interviews and everything. I'd go home crying my eyes out. Or I'd be at home crying my eyes out because exactly, there were two different things. It's like, yeah, great, you're so happy, you're so successful, blah blah blah, and at home or in the comfort of my own space, I'd be crying my eyes out. Like, that's not really me though. Like,
so you didn't recognize your own strengths.
Yeah, 100%, exactly.
So what about things like, do you think it's important to be around positive people?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, because our mind, if you think about it, our mind is like a sponge, right? So whatever we take in, or whatever we hear, our mind is going to take it in like a sponge, right? And so if you're spending most of your time either listening to people or listening to the news or media or soap operas, no, I doubt that very much, or drama, like constantly or consistently, maybe even all day long, that language is actually going to seep into your mind, because you've got to have a filter up to say, do you know what, I'm not going to choose to listen to that. In fact, this actually is a really good point. So on my way here, a taxi driver was an amazing...
Talk to everybody.
I can't
Doesn't matter
help
what
it.
time or what day.
It's so true, I can't help it.
Such a random person. Tell us about this taxi driver.
So the taxi driver, his name's Willie. Hey Willie, if you're listening, he said he was going to listen in. We were just chatting about some of the things we might talk about, and he was mentioning how, you know, you don't really find happy, positive news, and you know, it's not really kind of readily available. And I was like, yes, that's such a valid point.
Have you switched off then? Because I do that as well. I just thought I can't be bothered, and then it pops up on social media. You're just like, I don't want to know that.
Exactly. So what you have to do is you have to make that conscious effort. Who are you hanging around with? Who are you listening to on social media? What kind of things are you watching that are either negative or toxic? Because those ideas are going to seep into your mind. And we're talking about the extreme, right? So if you're always listening to the news, in particular from as an example, like my mum was going through a really hard time, really very depressed, very sad within herself.
And you're the eldest as well.
I am,
so that's a big impact
it's really hard to see her like that. And she would listen to the news every half an hour, all day long, for years. And I was just like, Mum, you don't need to listen to this stuff if it's the same kind of drama that is actually triggering more upset in you. And that was a lesson that I learned. That's why I stopped listening to the news, because it would actually trigger trauma within myself.
Makes you angry as well when you see people really crying. Do you know what I mean?
You feel helpless, isn't it?
There's some not very nice people out there as well, sadly. As well.
Exactly.
So do you think it's important to ask for help then? Because you see that as a... Did you do that?
Yes, for sure.
When did you get to the stage where you thought, I need help?
Yeah, so
that was a long time
I was 12. Yeah, I was 12 when I really first asked for help. I had many cries for help, you know. Like, I'd attempted, my childhood was very difficult, marred by a lot of abuse, physical, emotional, sexual abuse. And by the age of 12, I couldn't take it anymore, you know. And I tried to take my life.
Did you?
Yeah, and it manifested in that. It manifested as a cry for help, but such negative self-talk, such criticism and judgment. Like, I felt worthless, you know, and I just wanted the pain to end. At 12.
So sad you should be enjoying yourself.
I know. It was, honestly, it was heartbreaking. I'm so proud of myself for coming this far. And so at that age, that's when I asked for help. And it was at that age that I started to recognize self-talk.
Who did you ask for help then?
So I asked the school for help. So we had a counsellor who came in that I could speak to. And to be honest with you, ever since then, so I'm nearly 40, and I have always worked with counsellors or coaches or mentors.
That,
100%. And a lot of the time, like, my closest friends wouldn't know that I'm working with a counsellor or that I'm working with a professional.
Did you really have to hide it?
To be honest with you, it was...
It's like that shrink mentality, isn't it?
There might have been an element of that, but it was more that I wanted to deal with these things in private. But there was definitely that element of, like, that shame of what will people think, what will people say. And it was like, you know what, at the end of the day, if it's for your mental health, it doesn't matter what people could think and what they're going to say. It really doesn't. You've got to do whatever makes you happy.
Do you think people take advantage of somebody that's like that?
They can do, yeah. You have to be careful. I'm sorry, you know, there are people, like I said, there's some amazing, wonderful well-intentioned people out there, and there are some people who are not very conscious of what they say and what they think and how they might be hurting other people. So you do have to discern, but I would always say put your mental well-being first, put your health first, and seek the professionals that are out there. You know, the women that I work with, we work together on self-worth and self-love and really helping her to tap into her potential and make her dreams come true and be happier within herself. And it's a journey because we haven't been taught necessarily.
Especially the Scots, we're the worst.
Yeah.
Negative about weather to begin with, and then it just goes on and on. Do you think it's like you talked about positivity, being around people that are positive as opposed to negative, at least most of the time as well. Did you have any models of somebody that was self-loving?
Oh, do you know
what do you think?
Yeah, so I had, for me, the person that stood out or stands out is one of my best friends. So we met when we were like 4 years old. So we went through primary school, secondary school, college together.
Never fell out?
And we have fallen out. We've had
strong-willed
exactly. I know. We've had our moments, but to be honest with you, I think people can sometimes, like, you need space to grow actually, and then you come back, like, especially those true friendships. But she was always like, we never stopped talking, right? If you think I'm a chatterbox, you need to get her on your show. Like, Shaima is such a chatterbox. But she's so positive, and she was always so encouraging, which was such a contrast to most of the people that were in my life. And teachers as well, you know, super encouraging when I was younger. And then growing up, you know, you become very selective about who you hang out with and who's not always good for you.
You just make really good choices, healthy choices.
You have to, yeah, you have to, because at the end of the day, if someone is quite negative minded or has this toxic kind of energy, they're not gonna learn until you uphold your boundaries, until you say, I don't want to spend time talking about this for the next hour or so, or like, I'm not one to sit and bitch about people or gossip or, you know, sorry, I hope I didn't swear.
What kind of energy does that have on you then? You know, do you let it go for a while and then...
Yeah. See, the thing is, for myself, especially with the work that I do, like, I'm a listener. I'm a natural listener, right? So I've learned, you know, to just step away. Obviously, with clients, it's a very different dynamic anyway. I'm very selective about who I work with one-to-one. But when it comes to, like, just conversations, yes, obviously we can handle a little bit, but I'm very selective about how much time I spend talking about certain things in a kind of environment that doesn't feel good. And especially if it's, like, negative about other people, I can't handle that. I'm like, look, let's find the positive in this. And
is it easy to steer people?
To steer people? How do you mean?
From negative to positive?
Oh, really good. Yeah, it can be. It starts with your intention. You know, if your intention is to really help somebody to see a different perspective, you can ask a question. Exactly, ask a different question, and not everyone wants that, and that's fine, you know. But like, I don't go around coaching people if they don't want to be coached, you know.
Sure.
And coaching is really just asking a very, very powerful question that opens a mindset and opens possibility and positivity and you know, things that someone hasn't thought about. So it really just depends. You can tell some people want to stay in their problems. Like, I wanted to stay in my problems when I was depressed. I wanted to stay in that state.
Why?
Because it felt safer to stay depressed. It felt safer. It was more comforting to stay in my bed under a blanket than go face the world, which didn't feel safe.
Gosh.
Do you see what I mean? So it felt safer. So there were times when I stayed in bed and I didn't draw the curtains, and I didn't eat very well at all. I wasn't exercising. My skin was really, like, you know, it was coming up. It was very, very dry, coming up in spots as well. I was eating not very healthy food, you know, and I wasn't really seeing the time of day. Exactly. And so it just became a pattern, you know, and you have to be very, very aware of what you're going through. This is why it comes down to, what does self-love feel like? It feels comforting, it feels loving, but it feels good. Do you know what I mean?
Is it that kind of empowering feeling? It's okay, what happens, I feel, I know where I'm going.
Exactly. It's that excitement and that eagerness, you know, that life.
It's not like you know that it's going to be amazing, but you want to go that direction.
Yeah, because your core mindset is, do you know what? Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to do my best, and if I make any mistakes, I can forgive myself. It's okay. Move on. Carry on. Keep going. And like, if you were to think of those as like the hurdles and any obstacles that come in the way, you're jumping over those hurdles with that kind of mindset, or those kind of mindsets, you're always going to do really well, because in essence, everything is actually fine, regardless of how difficult something looks like. And I've been through some awful times. I've always known I'm guided, I'm protected, I'm loved, I'm taken care of. I've just got to believe in myself and not go into negative doubt, and actually
it's that
just
vulnerability
trust.
You've got to let go to be able to
and it's hard. It can be very, very difficult, especially if you've never done it before, and especially if you don't know, like, how to. So this is why I teach this stuff. This is what's in my book. You know, I wanted to write a book which was all about strategies, so that, you know, the reader could just go and implement whatever felt right. Do you know?
I get you. I know, because we can read all these self-love books and stuff like that can empower you, but then how do you put it into reality?
Exactly.
How do you make life work for you? Let's talk about the contrast then. You've talked about self-love, because I remember actually as a kid, you know the song Christina Aguilera sang, and there was the lyrics, I am beautiful. I remember giggling, thinking, that's a bit selfish, that's a bit narcissistic. Could that be the negative side of self-love?
So, do you know what? See, the thing for me, it always comes down to intention. And you can tell when someone is being loving towards oneself versus arrogant. And there is a fine line. Sure. And I find that when someone's, because sometimes actually what happens is people overcompensate, right? So they'll be like, yeah, I'm really beautiful, I'm really clever, or I'm like, I'm amazing at what I do. But there's this,
I've met a few people. Do you think underlining that is actually something completely different?
Yeah, it's that insecurity of actually I'm not. And so this is why I'm saying it's all about the intention. And you can tell when someone is saying I'm beautiful, I'm loving, I'm kind, I'm a good person, from a good place. Do you know what I mean?
But then what about those that, like you say, if you hear that, is it our place to turn around and say, are you actually okay?
To be honest with you, that's a really good question. I think, again, you have to discern, because, you know, you have to think about whether you want to say something. Even just the fact that you observe it and you notice it can actually be enough for the person who's observed it. Exactly. But if it is of concern, then say it. Like, I'm the kind of person that would
we know that.
say it. But I say it in a way.
You always give a solution to that as well. It's not just criticism or whatever, or pinpointing what's wrong, which is what I love about you.
And when I was younger, I used to be so tactless. I would just say things. So I did. I've learned.
Well done, Layla.
Thanks.
So if you were to then sum up, what are the strengths of self-love then?
Oh, so the strengths of self-love, that's such an awesome question. The strengths are that it's never ending.
Can we use another word for self-love?
There's different words. There's compassion, there's self-worth. Self-worth is just knowing that you are worthy simply because you're alive. That's a Layla's vibe. So it's like knowing that you are worthy simply because you're alive. You know, like we don't have to earn our worth. We don't have to earn love. We don't have to.
That's interesting because a lot of people you say you've got to earn it.
Yeah, and you don't. Because naturally, as the beautiful beings that we are, you know, from the divine, from God, you know, we are worthy. We are loved. We didn't come here, you know, being unlovable. Sure. The unlovable stories. Yes, we came with a clean slate, being loved. You know, babies are beautiful essences of love, and it's the stories that they're told as they get older and become, you know, a child and so on, that makes them think that they're unlovable. And then for some people, for many people, they become the adult who really truly believes they're unlovable. And so the self-love work is about reframing that, and basically you're reprogramming or rewiring, or you're transforming the I am unlovable to actually I am lovable because I am love. And this is very deep. Like the work to do this can feel
because it's more than just identifying that you are feeling negative and I want to feel better, but then
it's a process. It's about, you know, really reflecting on where you're at, and just recognizing as well that you are loved regardless of what anybody else says, and regardless of your own kind of negative self-talk. I mean, I thought I was unlovable. I really did. I thought I did not feel worthy.
Was that just a figment of your imagination, or was that
no
true?
It was, well, it's definitely a figment of my imagination, because it wasn't true. But the amazing thing about beliefs is the more a belief is just a thought repeated over and over and over again. Okay, that's all a belief is. So if a belief is you're a failure, if someone is saying to you you're a failure and they keep saying it, and in your mind you keep saying it and repeating it, you're going to believe that you are a failure. If you turn that around and you hear messages of well done, you've done really well,
so that's affirmations,
exactly, and you start celebrating yourself and acknowledging yourself with affirmations and positive words and statements and this kind of work.
Do you think that has to be a daily thing, or
it doesn't stop? Like I've not stopped my inner work ever since.
How do you remind yourself that you need to do that? Because not everybody can.
Yeah, you have to. It's in the little moments, you know. A really good point is actually creating space. So creating time when you're not always around other people, and when you haven't always got the radio or a film or the TV or something on in the background. Yes. So then that comes into again, that reflection time, which can be spent in meditation. Which
prayer is important too?
Prayer is so important, because we're wanting to connect to that deeper part of you. And this is the magic, right? You're wanting to connect to that deeper part of you that knows you are amazing, that knows that you are loved. And that's why cutting off the outside noise is so important, so you can come to your own space within.
Should you do that every day?
Or? Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah. I would highly recommend that you spend time every day reflecting in silence, or just that if you find that difficult to meditate, to journal. So grab a notebook and just jot your thoughts down. Write down, you know, what's on your mind, and you know how you're feeling about things, and don't even criticize. Like when I used to journal, I never read back what I wrote, because some of it was
cathartic. You just let it go.
Yeah, because some of it was actually way too painful to read. But also, the point of journaling is that you're releasing. You're releasing, and there is transformation in that. You know, so I would definitely just say, you know, there's so many strategies, and they are actually in the book.
Do you think you need to know who you want to be or who you are? Because some people are kind of don't have the direction. Is that what
Yeah.
your work comes into?
Yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
people come around and just say, I just don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah.
I'm lost.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you help them identify that?
Exactly, because our purpose, I do believe that each and every single one of us is here for a purpose or multiple purposes. And in order to actually find the purpose, you have to go within. You've got to ask yourself these kind of questions like, what is my purpose? What do I enjoy doing? What do I love doing? What are my passions? Like what new things can I try?
Even everybody that goes through motherhood can lose
Yeah.
themselves. So it's important
Yes.
to these women
Yeah.
that have been out of it for so long.
Yeah,
They need
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of, don't they?
Because it's that
lift.
identity. It's like, who do you identify yourself as, right? So one of the things that I've talked about is actually that you as a human being, all of us as a human being, we are not our status. We're not our job title. And I learned that the really hard way, because I used to be assistant head teacher and I had all these other amazing posts and jobs and promotions. And when I walked away from the jobs, or when I left,
So risky, isn't
it was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like when I sidestepped teaching, I was like, I was in a void, like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not a teacher anymore. Is that right? But I'd created this identity
Yeah.
as a teacher ever since I was a child.
Mm.
So then to not have that belief,
Yeah.
that, oh, okay, I'm not a teacher anymore, so who am I?
It's supposed to be your support, isn't it? And
Yeah.
You just pulled it.
And then it was like, okay, right, now I'm going to be able to discover more of actually who I really truly am, which is the same for everyone. So we're not our job titles, we're not our status. There is so much more to us, and asking these questions and sitting and reflecting and enjoying the process. Like inner work can be a lot of fun, and yes, it can bring up things, but at the same time, it's a joy when you discover something new and you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I'm going to try something different.
We were talking about discovering something new. We're going to go to a break, but let's talk about social media. Because obviously it's a massive impact with technological advances as well. It scares me. Nevertheless, let's talk about that just after the break.
Okay,
Thanks,
awesome.
Just like it.
That was so cool.
Just had to steer you, didn't it?
Yeah, I love that conversation. What did you think?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah?
You just talk and I did that.
Your questions are amazing. I'm like, you ask these questions, I look at you, I'm like,
She can answer everyone.
yeah, exactly.
I'm looking for a wee pause in your breath, and I'm like, interject.
It's like, shut up.
I love it.
But in my head, I'm always like, how much time have I got to talk? Do I need to stop? Shall I stop?
No, I'll just break it up, because obviously we've only got like half an hour left.
Really?
It's flown by. So we need to do 15 minutes and 15
Yes.
minutes, right?
Yes.
But I have to take a break at 11:45.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so after this song, but I've just done a really short song. 3 minutes. Let's do 2 minutes, 40
Honestly,
seconds.
your questions are amazing. Yeah.
So what are we going on? We're going to talk about social media now.
Yeah, so what did we say? Social media and...
Oh yeah, we said, let me see.
Christmas,
We'll do Christmas last, because that'll be our kind of thing. Where did I find? I need to tick off that stuff I was talking about. So all the kind of negative impacts on your mental health and
Yeah.
Where are
Okay.
you? Yeah. Social media and living in the present moment.
Yes.
And I can talk about that thing about the fireworks and stuff, and when I went on holiday, my pal, food, every time we saw
Yes.
something nice, document, Facebook, Snapchat, everything. It actually put me off that I barely took like 2-3 pictures.
Really? The
Yeah.
whole
It just
holiday?
put me off completely.
Really?
Yeah. I remember thinking, I just don't like this. You just make me feel like
Yeah.
you're not enjoying life. What are you
Yeah,
doing? You're just showing
yeah,
off to people.
yeah. I'm wondering if there's a turning point happening with social media. I'm
It has to
wondering.
hit rock bottom. Honestly, it's just.
I mean, I couldn't believe it when my friend was telling me his stuff, and I sat there and I was taking a picture of a flipping coffee.
There you go.
When he was telling me really hard, like a really tough time he's going through, I was like, what am I doing? Do you know? It's crazy, and I've stopped using it.
You got absorbed by it all.
Exactly, and that's why that was the turning point a few weeks ago. And that's one of the reasons why I've stepped back, and I can talk about how I'm using it much more consciously and so on.
It's funny because a lot of people when they're on social media, they are trying to portray a fun. I'm doing this all the time.
Yeah.
With me, with social media, I'll be honest, I don't really show off in terms of singing. But when I feel good at myself, I put a selfie up, and that's about me and not other people.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the difference, I think.
Yeah, and also from a business point of view as well.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a.
Yeah, it's hard for you.
It's
isn't
hard.
it?
It's really hard. Literally, like only 10 people have seen my Insta story when hundreds, well, at least 100 would have seen by now. Because I've not been on Insta story, so that has an effect. The other point that I was going to make that I didn't make was actually about just enjoying yourself.
Yeah. But this is where you can talk about social media.
Yeah.
You're okay for watching, aren't you?
Yes, thank you.
The only time I drink is when I've got a cold. So I'm just going to top it up. Right?
Okay.
You actually walk different as well.
You do, exactly. We've got to talk about
My brother was
this.
so positive and bounce.
Yeah, exactly. Is that what you used to do?
Me and my brother used to do it. I remember thinking, what's he doing? And he would bounce when he's walking.
Because the thing is, people want to feel happy, so they create.
Good morning, Awaz FM. Can I help you? Yep. Layla, she's still on, yeah? Yes, she does. Do you want me to give me your phone number? I'll tell her to pass. I'll get the number passed on. I've just literally got 20 seconds. Go for it. 079 12 509 578. And what's your name? Rubina. Okay, Rubina, I'm going to pass it on. She's sitting here, but we're just going to go on air. I'm so sorry to cut you off. Thank you. Bye, bye, bye. Has she got your first inquiry? Does she do coaching?
Huh?
Go for it, Rubina. And I'm going to do... Oh. Thank you so much for your calls, ladies and gentlemen, as well, and for tuning into the mid-morning show with Umbreen. And I've got Layla Khan here.
Hey.
We've been talking about self-worth, but I thought it's time to talk about social media. There's lots of negativity, but there's so much advance when it comes to technological, well, even devices and on and on.
Yeah.
And Lily, we were talking off air actually, and I was saying to you, and I know my kids right at very young age, they were told to bring in iPads and stuff, and I was pretty scared, thinking they're doing lessons on that. And my son, he's in uni. What books do I get you? He goes, oh, it's all online.
Wow.
So do you see, everything's becoming like that. It's that virtual life.
Yeah.
And I remember actually, it was bonfire night not long ago, and I was going to see fireworks. And it was absolutely beautiful. Everybody's documenting it on their phones. And my pal, oh, you're not going to take a video? I says, no, I just want to enjoy it. That's where the world's going.
Yeah.
I remember going on holiday and my pal taking a picture of food, taking a picture of coffee, taking a picture of blooming lampposts. And everywhere it went, it's like, and I just feel, what are you doing? What is that achieving? Showing off? I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Is that trying to get self-worth?
That's a really good
Then we're linking
question.
the two, aren't we?
Because the selfies, we'll come back
there's
to
that word,
selfies
so-
and self-worth.
Go for it.
Interesting. But with like taking pictures all the time, I think here's the thing with social media. It kind of I think it takes us out of the present moment. of like what's actually really happening. So I've got a similar example to share as well. So a few weeks ago I was hanging out with one of my really good friends, and he was actually sharing something he's going through, or he went through a tough time. And I could not believe it, right? I sat there and our coffee had arrived, and I was taking a photo of the coffee whilst he's telling me about the things that he's going through.
Wow.
And I caught myself. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This is not cool. My friend, my human being friend here in front of me is going through a really tough time, and I'm acting out this pattern, this behavior pattern of take out my camera, take a photo of a coffee instead of being there for my friend, but also enjoying the present moment. So I completely relate to the examples that you shared there as well. And I think this is what social media can do. You know, it takes us out.
Always checking your phone and seeing the responses, the likes and the comments as well. What does that achieve, do you think?
Yeah, so it's all these companies, right? These organizations and these platforms, they have psychologists who are working behind the scenes, right?
You forget that, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
And they're creating these platforms to be used by human beings, by the mind, right? And so they know what colors to use, what to create. So I'm going to use an example which I've not shared before, but the fact that when we go onto social media, onto Facebook or Instagram, and we right, we double tap on Instagram, that has become an unconscious trigger and reaction, right? You see a picture, you like it, you have a thought, it's like, exactly, it's like, oh, I'm going to double tap that, and then you go to the next one, oh, I'm going to double tap that, oh, I'm going to go to the next one. That's
it's
an
become easier
automatic.
to do that, because remember, it used to be harder to do, and now it's just double tapping.
Exactly, and it's become an automatic reaction, right? That is psychology, and that's what these companies want you to do. They want you to be on there. And so as I realised and noticed my own patterns, I've stepped away a lot more, in particular over the past few weeks, because at the end of the day, we don't have to actually be on social media like all the time, taking in all this content.
Do you take a break for how long then?
Do you know what? I've actually just been, it's more that I'm not checking my phone as often, and I'm catching myself.
This notification thing that
I don't have notifications. Yeah, I don't have notifications.
I think that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, because because it's constant. I did used to have notifications, and it would just be go 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 the whole time. It's like, no, I need a mental break, because I think it's easy to
mental break is really. So what impact does it have on our mental health, do you think then?
So good, because you end up coming back to yourself. You end up thinking about other things that you want to do instead. You end up valuing the people that you're in front of, right? So if you've got a boundary to say, well, do you know what, over dinner, no phones at the dinner table, right? We're going to sit, we're going to talk. At least that's a boundary that you can say, okay, this is really important to us.
Some real space.
Real space to actually talk, or leave the phones outside, in the hall for the next half an hour, maybe.
It's
Let's
ridiculous
just talk.
That we're saying just take a few minutes out of work. All day long we're on it, aren't we?
All day long. So it has to be, social media has to be used very consciously, because I think a lot of people, especially young people, they don't realize how unconscious it is, how automatic it is, and it has its pluses and its negatives as well. I personally love social media. I love being on Instagram and Facebook and all of that, and it is part of my work.
I know, because a lot of you tap a button and you're in New York and who knows what. So that's the benefits, aren't they?
I get to share.
Have to virtually be there.
Exactly, and I get to share it as well. I get to share all these things that I'm doing, connecting with people all over the world and stuff. So from a business point of view, it's amazing. A big part of my business is digital, and I've always had that. I've got online courses and so on. But at the same time, it's a question of kind of just saying, well, how do I want to use this? So I'm not on social media as much now. I'm still posting, but I'm much more strategic. And I suppose we can make that decision, when we realise what our patterns are. Like, I was getting really unhappy, because also, here's the other thing for any business owners that are out there. We use social media to connect, to share, to teach, to empower, to inspire, to entertain, right? But it can go too far. And there's other things that you can be doing in your business rather than spending time on social media.
Because I remember actually, what was I looking up? I can't remember, belts or wallets or something.
Oh.
Then you go on social media and there's all the ads, or look up hair products. And I'm thinking, Big Brother's watching you all the time. It's pure scary, and then it's directing you somewhere else. So you're sucked in all the time.
Exactly, and it's that like, that pattern interrupt. That actually happened to me where I didn't even search. In fact, this was a jacket that I bought, a fake leather jacket, fake. I bought that in London, and I think I'd taken one photo, right, on my phone, just one photo. Next thing, it's on my social media as an ad, and I was like, I haven't even searched for this photo, and it's showing up as an ad, with other examples. So there's another side to it, and I think we've got to be really careful. Like, we as human beings are absolutely amazing, right? And if we become robots through social media, then we're losing the essence of who we really truly are. I know that might sound deep and heavy, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we are here to have, to enjoy being ourselves, to create a life of memories. Memories are what we want to create and capture through photos and videos, but it doesn't have to be constant all the time, and we've got to think about why we're sharing it and what we're sharing.
Sometimes it's not even two-way. You just put it out,
and so to come back to the selfie and self-worth thing, I find that fascinating, right? Because I remember taking a picture of myself when I was 12 years old. No, 13, 14.
When I was 12, I didn't have a camera.
And it was like an old school camera, right? It was an old school, like, thick brick.
She's still young,
It was like a brick camera. And I remember taking this photo. Do you know why? I didn't know what I looked like.
Really?
I didn't know what I looked like because, in the house, we had a few mirrors, but it wasn't like you'd sit there and check yourself out. Exactly. So I actually took a photo of myself to see what I looked like and to see why my friends would make comments about how I looked. Because I didn't know what I looked like.
Was that negative comments?
No, these were, in fact, there were one or two negative comments. There's like a little bit of bullying and stuff, but some of them were really positive. And I genuinely did not know what I looked like. So I remember taking that photo. I've got it somewhere in the house. I might share it on social media. But what happened over the years is that because I had very low self-esteem, I was very, very insecure. I was very disconnected to myself. And so taking photos was my way of seeing myself, and that's a positive thing, because it was like, okay, well, what is good about me, what is nice about me, instead of falling into the trap of negative thinking. So taking selfies does have a positive. It's when we're taking selfies to share with the world for approval and for validation, which then that's kind of murky ground, because at the end of the day, you're here to love and approve and validate of yourself. You're here to learn how to do that and enjoy being yourself, because it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of how you look. It really, really doesn't matter. It's always going to come down to how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, because you can have people constantly praising you, and it still doesn't affect you, does it? You're still that deep. You need to believe in it before you can.
There you go, and that's the point. That's the key point. It doesn't matter what other people say. Now it can help, right? It can help if other people are either complimenting you or making negative comments, and you're taking photos of yourself to look at yourself in a positive light. It can actually help you. But yeah, I mean, it's skewed. It's really sad. It saddens me how it's skewed for young people, because a lot of them have no idea of a life and world without.
You're talking about approval and all that kind of stuff. Relationships in itself. We're all on social media. There has been so much negativity of couples breaking up, and this is what I'm saying. You have Instagram's probably the worst, because it used to be Facebook. They're connecting to all these females or all these males. They're getting loads of friend requests, putting up selfies, and they're accepting. And that partner is not seeing. Some of them are sleazy, raunchy pictures. You're thinking, do they not love me enough? Do they have to seek approval from all these females? Are they doing something? Are they getting direct messages? Do you think is that not a serious thing?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, because what can happen is, for a partner who's noticing that or seeing that, who's not like just following anybody and everybody and just adding everyone. You know,
because see, in reality, our pool of people that we can pull from, so to speak, or like, or want to connect with, or have a long-term relationship, or get married to, is very small. Then you put it up on social media, Facebook,
the
Instagram,
world opens up,
and it's every Tom, Dick, and Harry is flying into you, and it's probably good for the ego, but that's scary.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Exactly, it's scary, but it massages the ego, and it goes back to that kind of fake it till you make it thing. That doesn't work. At the end of the day, that person's still gonna have to love themselves. That person's still gonna have to look at their own behavior, which some people might not like hearing. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why people behave in certain ways. Now, at the same time, for the other person in that relationship, it might trigger jealousy, insecurity, and that's the time for that person to actually love oneself. Right? I went through this. I experienced this when I was younger in one of my relationships, and it was really uncomfortable. Now, this person, his intentions was to do it on purpose as well, which would trigger that jealousy, right? And so I learned that actually jealousy is when you look to somebody else and you think you are lacking, right? And so
it's actually them, isn't it?
Exactly, but it doesn't even matter about them. It comes back to you. So it's about you closing that gap to understand and recognize and to realize and to say, well, I am enough as I am. And she is, and he is, and whatever.
That's what you keep saying. Am I not good enough? Am I not enough for you?
Exactly.
And you know, all these filtered selfies. Because I was looking at it, and I know so many people. Face looks fantastic, body doesn't. Body looks fantastic, face doesn't. And it's just like, and I was just thinking that they're taking headshots, they're taking they're faking it. They're not who they are. Or you know, they've got this most amazing life, and you're just like, actually, I know you. You're not like that. Oh gosh, we're actually coming.
Are we out of time?
Yeah, almost. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to a break. When we come back, well, let's do last one was winter blues and stuff. Okay, let's do that. Quick.
Awesome.
Oh my god, you just talk forever, can't you? You need to do a 2-hour show.
Should you just have me here? Like, should I just come in when you do your show?
Tuesday, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do hologram.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. I know. Jerry, he's not got any events coming up in the next few weeks. Abroad, but he's doing new events. And I've been featured on his website, right? And I really want to go. So it's Singapore and Toronto that he's doing these events.
Stunning. Very clinical though, very clean.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Really? Yeah. I would love to go to that part of the world. Oh my god, let's get a holiday booked in for next year.
Save up. It's so expensive, Singapore. It's so expensive. You're probably better off with Thailand. It's cheaper.
Really? Oh, and then.
But then, apartment.
And then go to Singapore from there.
my sister was saying like some of the really fancy 4 or 5 star is like a 3-star price. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. They loved it. There's so much to see. The culture is amazing.
I know. It looks
and obviously it's that overlap of yogis and you know what I mean. Buddhists and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I would love it. I know, Ladybug.
My brother-in-law was saying, do you know, I can see these and not tell the difference between a man and a woman.
Really?
They are stunning. It's scary almost. I was like,
I met a ladyboy, amazing ladyboy, in Dubai.
Oh.
And he had some secrets to share. Exactly. I want to go to Dubai. I really want to go to Dubai.
I've been a couple of times, but yeah.
I need a holiday.
It's become so expensive there as well.
Really? One of my best friends from school is there, and also one of my cousins as well.
Cool.
So I'm going to get some trips in. I'm gonna next year, Dubai, Turkey.
Why not?
Cyprus, and a couple of other places.
You've got loads up there. What have I got? We're just talking about.
Wow, I hope this isn't going to kill the thing on your phone. I'm totally saying it on the.
Okay. I bet you loads of people are listening and they're not about to actually phone in, but
really.
So what we'll do is at the end, if you wanna just do your Facebook or whatever it is, and you've got a link, and just say, look, we ran out of time. How can we get a hold of you?
Yeah. Sounds good. So I'll do my website.
Just look at your phone number because I'll get in trouble with the directors actually here. Just say website or whatever it is, the book name and stuff like that.
Good.
Yeah.
For more tips and strategies. Yeah.
We literally got 4 minutes or something.
Really?
But it's fine.
That's cool.
I'm sure you can make it.
we can squeeze it all in.
Okay.
I love this show.
That's it up now. Ready? Hello, and good morning. You listen to the mid-morning show with Umbreen, and I've got Layla Khan here. We've literally only got 5 minutes, Layla. I'm so sorry. So we're going to talk about winter blues and this time of year for most people. I think you get a lot of illnesses as well, so it makes people miserable. What can we do?
Yeah. Do you know what, this time of year, it's just jam-packed, isn't it? There's so much going on. There's so much so many things happening for everybody, making plans, not making plans, their own emotions, how they're going to spend Christmas Day, what are they going to do, who they're going to be with, do they want to spend it with the family, what's that going to be like. So there's a lot going on at this time of year, and I suppose the one thing that I really want to just share is the main thing is that if there's anybody out there who's going to be spending Christmas on their own, or they're going to be in an environment.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
So what happened? Is it really low time?
So, yeah, I talk about this actually in my book. There was one Christmas where one of my best friends invited me along, and it was when I was going through a very depressive phase, and I said, no, I just want to stay at home on my sofa and cry my eyes out. And initially she was like, no, come spend it with me and the family. And I was like, no, I actually really, really just want to do that. And I did. I felt so much better for it afterwards because I gave myself what I needed. Fast forward many, many years, and last year I spent Christmas on my own. And I had a great time, and I got a takeaway the day before. I got cheesecake, lemon cheesecake, which I love. And just made it a day. Got dressed up, watched the films. Had a dance about. Yeah, wow. Because
I'm the type of person that couldn't even go to cinema on my own.
No way, really?
Honestly, I couldn't unless nobody saw me.
It's that whole you end up enjoying your own self, and I amuse myself. I do some really funny, weird things on my own. I'm like, how could I have walked into that door frame on my own when the door is that wide? Like, seriously. So I'm going to share a blog about that actually.
Okay.
Because I shared that last year and I got some really, really positive feedback. So yeah, it is definitely possible to spend Christmas on your own and make the most of it and enjoy it. I'd definitely say make some plans for yourself. You've got a few weeks. Think about what you would really, really enjoy doing. And if people are spending Christmas time with family members or relationships which are quite difficult and strained as well, I would definitely just say limit the time that you spend. Yeah, go for a short while or spend more time on your own and go back and forth.
You know what I end up doing a lot of the time? I feel awkward. I end up doing the dishes because it keeps me awake and I don't hear everything.
That's my trick too. Yeah, I do that.
I can't imagine you washing dishes. These girls have got 3 dishes, especially with the chicken.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But the sad thing is not everybody's like that. Not everybody can spend time alone, but then they perhaps don't have the money. Or even family. What do they do?
It takes time. There were many Christmases and Eids as well in particular, and birthdays where I spent on my own because I was disowned from the family for a very long time. I was traveling as well, and I didn't know how to be on my own. And so it's you've really just got to check in with where you're at and know that it can be an amazing day if you want it to be, but
plan it
beforehand. Feel free to ask me for some advice as well. I'm more than happy to give that, and I'll share some content out on social media as well.
So that's what I'm saying. We're always almost coming to the end of the time. If somebody's listening to you and they want some help, what's the best way?
Yes, so jump onto my website, which is www.lifeistoday.academy.com.
Or I've actually tagged you on Awaz FM as well as Facebook. You can't remember, so just I click on that.
Yeah.
Social media. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, or find me on social media. Find me Layla Khan Author 1 on Facebook. And connect. Be in touch. I'm more than happy to help as well. It's been amazing being here. Thank you
for your time.
So much for having me. We could.
Okay, sum up today. What
love yourselves and learn to enjoy who you are. Learn to enjoy your quirks, your flaws, your humour, and bring your best self and know that there's always more for you.
And ask for help.
Yes, ask for help for sure.
Thank you, Layla.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you again.
Thank you.
Sometime in the future. Take care.